Hi, everybody. So Anya's here with me today, or Anya. I say her name wrong all the time. Um, so we're going to talk about healing, and she's going to be doing some stuff for the school to put in the library. And I just want to kind of catch up with her today because we haven't chatted for a while, and just to talk about what all is coming. Like everything's very exciting right now. So why don't
It
you go
is.
ahead and tell us how you're doing, Anya?
Yeah, it's been, I always like to keep it real with you guys and be really honest. I'm kind of one of them like energy workers, light workers that likes to not portray an image of being fully healed or, in this place that's unachievable to anybody else to get to. I still feel personally as light workers and healers that we still experience great battles and great ups and downs in physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and all different aspects of life. And I think that's also important to acknowledge that this journey is not always angels and rainbows and fairies. Like it can be really intense and it can be really emotionally draining. And I think the one thing to recognize is when you come out of that kind of fight or flight survival mode, once you've lived there for so long and you're used to like compartmentalizing your emotions and not dealing with things straight away, once you're in more of a healed state and you do process them emotions and you do allow yourself to feel them, it can be very intense and it can be very unfamiliar, and it can be an overwhelming experience, even if that's just for 10 minutes or for 10 days or 10 weeks. And I think it is important to recognize that these past couple of weeks, specifically for me, have been quite intense, energy wise, emotion wise. Physically, it's felt a bit like Groundhog Day in the earth. It's felt a bit repetitive and draining energy and very exhausting. And there has been times where it's been very overwhelming for me. And I just think it's important to recognize that we all experience that, whether you're an energy worker or not, we all experience, because we're all still human beings. And if you are working as an energy worker or doing anything like that and you're still feeling a bit of like draining energy or overwhelmed, that's very normal. It actually means that you're processing through these emotions and you're dealing with things and you're acknowledging it rather than just locking it away and ignoring it like I previously used to do. So I definitely think I'm feeling a lot more myself now and a lot more connected, but it has been a lot of intensive energy, a lot of shadow work's been surfacing. I think there's been a lot of other people's emotions surfacing. So it's like we're all trying to navigate how to find a level ground in this, and find peace in this while still navigating through the storm. It's not easy, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, and we're filming this like directly after a lot of solar activity, which I would call the solar event, but it was stretched.
Yeah, yeah,
So
for
instead
sure.
of all at once, it was like stretched out over like a whole week,
Mhm.
a week of wild.
Yeah, no, it really was. And it was like this wild energy, this chaotic energy where when you was out driving, it was like it felt like no one knew what they were doing. The cars were just all over. Everyone's energy is manic, but then it felt so almost boring. It felt like the same dredged energy every day. And I was like, I was talking to Trish and I was like, I really don't understand what this energy is. I can't shift it, because I wanted to realize, is this me? Is this what's going on? And when speaking to multiple different energy workers, they was all experiencing a very similar thing. So
Yeah.
I do think it is definitely, like you say, connected to the solar flares, the solar flashes. I'm not necessarily as I don't always understand things on the physical level. I do get a lot of the energy side to it, but it makes a lot of sense when you look at the solar flares, the planetary alignments, the Schumann resonance. When I do check in with things like that on big energy times, it's always very evident that there is physical things that are contributing to that energy as well, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
It
Pushed
is.
all the yuck up to the surface.
No,
So
but
it did. It wasn't
it
always pretty, but yeah.
well, it's like the spiritual purging season. That's what I feel like we're in. It's like no one's exempt from it, because, as I always say, if you were fully this ascended, healed master, you wouldn't be in this human experience, in this human body at this time. You just wouldn't choose to be in this alignment. You'd have ascended or gone to a different lifetime or whatever. We're
Yeah, you wouldn't
all,
be able to be seen
yeah,
anymore.
exactly. We're all at different levels,
Yeah.
this ascension journey. However, it's like we have to still release the physical toxins, the emotional toxins, the cellular memory of trauma. I mean, one of my main focuses that I do work with is the inner child, the inner teen. And it's a very big thing of mine, because I think being an Aries, which is a very childlike, playful being, but also a younger person, a younger energy worker, and someone that my childhood wasn't that long ago, my teenage years wasn't that long ago. For me, it's very easy to tap into that energy and very easy to remember that frequency and bring that forward and allow other people to tap into that without the shame and the judgment and the guilt that we put upon self. And I think that this is a key theme right now, is inner child and inner teen work that needs to be coming up, and we need to create room and space for the different aspects of self, not just the adult self or the mum version of self or the work version of self. Like, we need to have room for the inner child, for the inner teen, for the shadow self, for the past lives, and to be able to clear out anything that is kind of hiding in the closets energetically, that's blocking us from reaching us true potential right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like the inner child and all of that is where the creativity comes through.
Yeah.
And we're about to get really creative as, beings, and we gotta support that,
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to be weird and dance in the rain or whatever it is, Yeah.
For sure. And I think it gives confirmation for a lot of people that have maybe lived this way and been judged for it and criticized for it, because I have always been, even at times where I really, really tried to fit in and really tried, as a younger teen, it just didn't work. Like, it just never worked. There was always something that stood out. Even my name, Anya, it's such a different name. So even trying to blend in with that different, the name's different, and from tiny little things, the energy, it's very impossible to try and become something you're not. And I think it's so much easier. It's scary, but it is so much easier to first of all accept within self the parts of us, and then allow those that are really aligned and really on our frequency to either love us for us or not. They will make their choice of what level of insecurities they're at within self. And we have to really remember that the way people treat us and the way people behave, it's a reflection of their inner self, not a reflection of ours. And we
Right.
cannot internalize that, as something we did or something we are. It's just a reflection of their own pain.
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
forget that as humans. We think, oh, what did we do? And I get it,
Yeah, we tend to blame ourselves, just like children blame themselves for parents divorcing or, things like that. And
Yeah,
it's not anything to do with us necessarily. So
yeah, it
tell
is.
us what you're gonna do. You're gonna be putting some stuff in the library, right?
Yeah, so we've got a whole mixture of stuff, because as we were saying, the inner child, the inner teen is where the creativity lies. And with me, I'm not gonna lie, I have unlimited amount of ideas. I just seem to just explore so many avenues of creativity and expression, whether it's through music or art or any form of spiritual work. Like, for me, it is simply just about expressing yourself and finding new ways to release emotion, tap into trauma and release that, and expand and transform into a new version of self. So I have got a lot of different things that are going to be coming up, but there is definitely the inner integration, which is kind of like what we've just been talking about, which I think is very useful at this time. So that's going to be one that's going to be recorded in the library, and that's going to be kind of allowing people to explore in between their inner versions of self, as we mentioned, their inner child, their inner teen. First of all, being able to go on a journey inside the inner mind, in the subconscious mind, to be able to acknowledge and heal any parts of the inner self that have been locked away or put in shame or guilt for a long time throughout our lives. So there'll be a lot of worksheets, meditation, and conversations to activate that. Then we'll be working on the shadow self and the current self, bringing forward any parts of ourselves that we hide and lock away, and parts of ourselves that we need to forgive and release from as consciousness. And then on the week 3, or the next video, there will be in regards to the future self and the higher self, bringing forth the future self and reconnecting on deeper levels, to be able to kind of integrate the different aspects of self and have awareness and recognition on when the inner child's being jealous, or when the inner teen's wanting to tell people to F off, and when the shadow self is coming up with anger and rage and insecurities, and when the higher self is trying to tune in and we're not listening, and when the current self is too busy in the mind. And it's really important to kind of have some form of awareness of self and recognition of the different aspects of self, so that we can have more of attunement to what frequencies are playing up in our auric field, and then how to work with that. Because I didn't realize for a long time I was living in the inner teen, even as an early adult, because I was just living in, well, no, I'll just do what I want to do. You know, for a long time, my mum's very routine, very structured, like bed 9 o'clock alarm on, and it really stressed me out. So as an adult, I was like, no, I'll just stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning and just do what I want, because I could. So I was living in that rebellious energy of inner teen, you know, because my inner teen felt the need to live out that, because it was obviously a part of me that felt restricted and constrained. So as an adult, I was then causing not necessarily a detriment, but in some ways it was not a necessary beneficial thing to do, because it was out of like a resentment thing, or you know, oh, I just want to do that, and it just continued into a cycle. So once I was recognizing that that is a pattern from the inner teen rather than an actual conscious choice of self, of the current self, that was a real game changer for me, to be able to understand why that's coming up and what part of myself is trying to communicate that need, and to meet that need in other ways, and to be able to say, all right, well, we can go to bed, but we'll do some painting and we'll listen to some music, or you know, to also accommodate the needs of the inner child and inner teen and other versions of self, but in a way that's beneficial to us, rather than it dictating to the way that we live, you know. Because there's a lot of fully grown adults walking around with their inner child controlling the way that they live.
And not knowing how to control their own emotions, or how to deal with them, how to let them move through. They just kind of wallow in them and they get bigger and bigger.
And it is interesting, you know, I don't often go to like pubs or social environments, but my friend was recently doing a DJ gig, so I went up and I seen this bar like argument kick off, and I was watching it, observing it from this side, and it was so interesting to watch these fully grown adults, but almost in sense of like children, you know, and it was like watching children, you know, and they're not, obviously I don't know these people, I'm sure they're not like that all the time, but in that current moment, their little inner childs were so in pain and so not being heard, that it was just like, you know, two little kids having a little argument. And I think it was the first time I've externally observed it in such a clear way. And I think it is interesting sometimes to realize that we all have that part of self. We all have a little child inside of us that wants to be seen, that wants to be heard, that wants to be validated, whether that's because we wasn't then or just because we need it now as well. And I think being aware of that can really bring a lot of healing. So that's one of the first ones that's going to be available in the library. And it is quite a deep one, but it's something that I think people are able to go through at this time. I think they're ready for it.
I think they are too. And it's, you know, anything that we can do to let go of more is going to help us go forward and become those beings that vibrate so fast that we're ascended. I love your dog. He's so cute.
I know, the dog's back and I'm like, just be quiet. No, it's because they pulled us outside.
So
but and it is, that takes me on to the next course that came in. Minnie, come here, love. That, you know, the next course that came in was then the transformation to true self, and that was kind of like the, I suppose, the next step from this, you know, and the next journey, which is, like you say, that's being able to actually fully create room and integrate the multidimensional versions of self, and create space for that and create awareness for that. So that it does seem to be that in this spiritual journey, a lot of the things we do lead on to the next thing, and you know, the things we experience and that we expand through and go through, we end up understanding and processing and helping others with. So a lot of these courses I've actually been through myself and experienced the journeys, usually in a longer way, I will say. You know, I usually find a lot of a faster and more efficient and more supportive way to go through that as at the other end as a tutor or a mentor. But it can be something that, you know, a lot of us do. We usually do experience it and go through it ourselves. So that's just something to also mention. So the transformation to true self, that will be live. So we'll probably talk about that on a different video. As the live shows will probably be coming up more in May, June time. So that will probably be on a different a different time, but that's something to look forward to in the future. Another one that's going to be recorded is the Reclamation of the Wild Woman. Again, that one probably will be in a couple of weeks because that one's just getting put together, but that's all about the womb space, the divine femininity, all about the sacral chakra, all about releasing any emotions from the womb, any shame, any guilt, and really focusing on tapping into that sacral power and that sacral source energy, because it's, again, the base of the creativity, the base of the fire and the passion. And I think a lot of that has been targeted by the darker agendas throughout our lives and past lives to disconnect us from us full chakra and from source. So I think the Reclamation of the Wild Woman one is going to be a really, really, really close one to me. And then another of the couple of ones we'll be recording is the Cosmic Crafts, which will be connecting with nature. So things like wand making, protective pentagrams, protective emblems, herbal protection jars, all these things we can forage from nature. Again, this may be something that we maybe continue on with, doing like scrapbooks and paintings, but for now it's more focused on the nature side to things, to be able to like forage the herbs and the things from your local area and make like little nature protective energy things that we can channel in, because a lot of the things we see that we can buy are really beautiful, but making it yourself creates an extra amplification of intention and energy with it. And I always think it's beautiful adding in like the magic with the crafts, because it allows us to express ourselves a little bit more so. And then we've got some spiritual development that's going to be being recorded. So some psychic mediumship, third eye development, expansion of the mind, expansion of the senses and abilities. This I will be doing with Trisha, who's another lady that you guys have met before, and I'm sure she'll be doing her own video about her own courses. I've worked with Trisha for many years, so we're very much in flow with working with each other. So there'll be lots of different sessions on a couple of different sessions on there in terms with opening up the boundaries with spirit, bringing spirit forward, opening the third eye, learning how to communicate and translate messages. And then a healing recorded course with different types of modalities of healing, you know, different crystal healing, shamanic healing, sound healing, and just really tapping into our own abilities and being able to connect with our different abilities through different modalities to actually figure out which feels comfortable to us and which feels in alignment and which feels in flow, because sometimes we have to explore a couple of different little things to figure out, oh, really, that feels more comfortable to me. I actually find that I'm more drawn over there. And I think it's always nice to learn new things and expand our abilities as well in different ways. So there is quite a lot of different things that are going to be available.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've obviously got the power of protection that people have commented and wanted me to record that we did before. So we'll definitely, can easily pop that on there as well from the previous courses. But there's some really, really beautiful ones that we can record on there. And me and Trish are going to make a start and make sure that we've got the healing ones out there and make sure that we've got some of the spiritual development ones out there over the next, you know, couple upcoming weeks. So they'll be the first ones that will be available. And then the other ones will come as follow. But the inner integration is one that I will be posting as well myself, that will be available first of all. And then it'll be the Reclamation of the Wild Woman for my solo courses. And then the transformation will be live later on in May, June time. So there is a lot of exciting things coming up.
Yeah. And everything will have really good descriptions underneath it. So you know, if you're interested, you can really dig into what is going to work for you. And I'm really excited, Anya. I'm excited. Yeah,
I am, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity because, you know, as I mentioned earlier, there is sometimes I have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I kind of always wanted to get out. I do run obviously a lot of my own things, but sometimes it's really nice to tap into different types of energies and different types of frequencies that, you know, I don't necessarily have in my fingertip reach. So I really enjoy working with you and working with your school and working with Chrissy, and just the whole energy that it brings, and the people that attend are always really beautiful. So I always really enjoy the sessions that we've done so far. So I'm really excited to see where this can go. And you know what I'm like, there'll always be some new ideas coming. So I doubt I'll be running out of ideas anytime soon. There'll always be something new to continue on and expand with. And that's the whole point, you know, if we can help you guys go through this journey with a little bit more ease, transition, support, love, laughter and communication on the way, then that to me is what it's all about. I want to create for you guys what I would have wanted at that time, and that's always my vision in mind, like how would I have wanted this message delivered, and not to overcomplicate it, not to, you know, make people feel like they're not capable, because the reality is we are all connected. It's just finding a way to amplify that already existing connection. And that's kind of my way of perceiving it. You know, I don't ever think that, oh, I'm connected, you're not. It's just how can we get your connection a little bit clearer?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we are all one, and we actually, all of us have this ability. It's just, has it been uncovered yet?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's great to share all these tools. And I'm really happy you're in the school.
No, it's just so
So thank
beautiful. And
you.
it's like,
Yeah.
as light workers connecting together and working together in different aspects. Like for me, it's I couldn't ask for anything better, you know, and it gives me like I said, like an output and an outlet for me to be able to bring these ideas and these layouts. And like you said, there'll be all descriptions and like weekly plans and worksheets. I'm always big on worksheets. Me and Trish love the worksheets, you know, like activity sheets and questions. And I
Yeah.
think it's really good to get your
It
brain.
gets you engaged.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
obviously I'm dyslexic, so the way I learn, I have to be quite physically involved in the learning. So I always like to integrate a sense of physical activation whilst you're learning, so that you're not just being talked at. You know, a sense of getting involved, asking some questions, and making you actually feel like you're retaining that information and learning something rather than just being talked to. So yeah, a lot of my courses are kind of active in integration, getting you doing the work. Don't worry, I won't be making anybody talk if they don't want to talk for their anxiety or anything. It's just a sense of getting you guys thinking, getting you guys questioning, and really going into the inner self rather than just like you sat watching a lecture. I want you to feel like you've actually participated and gained some form of experience and understanding. That's the whole thing
Yeah.
for me. Yeah,
Beautiful.
for sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
No, thank
I'm
you.
excited for this. All
Me
right.
too. Me too. I'm just buzzing.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.